Shalom, shalom. In today's video, we are going to be revelating and expounding upon the mystery of the Engraved Serpent. So let's get straight into it. We're going to find the relevant section in Book 11 of the Zohar. This is Book 11. And the relevant passage is going to be in a section called Sifra Detnuta, which means the concealed book. And it says, "The imprint of the engravings look like a long snake, which extends this way and that. So the tail is at the head, and the head joined the shoulders. It passes and it is wrathful. It guards and conceals. Once in 1,000 small days is providence revealed through its doings. The fin upon which the world is situated is in its lot. Its head is broken in the waters of the great sea, as it is written, You did break the heads of the sea serpents, Hebrew Tananim, in the waters, Techalim 74:13. There were two, but one returned, for Tananim is spelt without the yud, which is the mark of the plural. Even though it is engraved heads, it is singular, as it is written, and over the heads, Rashi, of the living creature was the likeness of a firmament. It says Rashi with the yud, even though it was the head of a singular creature. Here also, about the sea serpent, even though it says heads, it really means the head of one serpent." And let us get straight into it. So, to begin with, to understand this mystery, we're going to begin with the beginning of this passage. It says, "The imprints of the engravings look like a long snake." Now, let's figure out what this means. Quoting Gate Aleph from a book called Omek Hamelech, it says the following. It says, "At his simple command, the word increased to create the worlds." Now, how did this word increase? To figure this out, we're going to quote Sefer Yetzirah. And we're going to quote chapter 2, verse 5, and it says, "How? He permuted them, weighed them, and transformed them, Aleph with them all, and all of them with Aleph, Beit with them all, and all of them with Beit. They repeat in a cycle and exist in 231 gates. It comes out that all that is formed and all that is spoken emanates from one name." And for our citation, to figure this out, we're going to go back to Omek Hamelech, and we're going to go into the 231 gates. And it is as it is stated in Sefer Yetzirah, Aleph with all of them with Aleph. Beit with all of them with Beit. Now, this stands to suffice. The same will be Gimel with all of them with Gimel. Dalet with all of them with Dalet. Hey with all of them with Hey. Vav with all of them with Vav. And the same with Zain and Chet and Tet and Yud and Kof and Lamed. And with Mem and Nun and Samek. And with Ayin and with Fe, Sadi, and with Kof and with Resh and with Shin, and finally with Tav. So now that we've established that cryptic passage, it says, "The imprints of the engravings look like a long snake, which extends this way and that." And what is the long snake? It is every letter with every letter. Which looks like a long snake. And this snake is called the Engraved Serpent. So let us get back into the relevant passage and figure out what this means. So it says, so the tail is at the head. Now what does this mean? Well, this means that Tav, which is Malkuth, has a relation with Kether. As we see, Malkuth has a relation with Kether. And we can confirm here the letter Tav is the backside of Malkuth, as it's stated. And so the tail is at its head, which is fitting, because in Kabbalistic terms, the head refers to the trinity of Kether, Hokmah, and Bina. And Malkuth, as has been demonstrated, is within the center of that, in the mystery of 2 points. And it says, and the head joins the shoulders. The shoulders respectively representing the lower 7 Sephiroth. Now, why does it say this? And why is it pointing that the head joins the shoulders? It must imply that they are separated. And how can we see this? Well, we can see this in a few ways. I'll demonstrate a diagram, and then we'll get into the mystery of it. So the upper 3 Sephiroth are separated from the lower 7 Sephiroth, and the mystery of the head joining in at the shoulders. And now it says, and it is wrathful. Why is it wrathful? Because of something called the shattering of the vessels, which is explained in very advanced aspects of the Lurianic Kabbalah, but I will be revelating what this means. It guards and conceals. Once in 1,000 days is providence revealed through its doing. Once in an Aleph. Aleph is the gematria, or the word for 1,000. And so Aleph is referring to Aleph with them all of them with Aleph. The fin upon which the world is situated is in its lot, referring that at his simple command the word increased in the mystery of the 231 gates to create this engraved serpent, which created the backs and the fronts of the Sephiroth, as has been demonstrated, which established the beginning of the creation of the worlds. So now it says, you did break the heads of the sea serpents in the waters. So its head is broken in the waters of the great sea. And what is the sea? The sea is Hokmah. Well, the 231 gates, when drawn in a circle, is called the sea. And why does it say that the heads were broken? It says that the heads were broken because, resorting back to these Partsufim, we're going to start from the beginning of the 231 gates. We're going to find that the gate for Aleph is perfectly symmetrical. We're going to find that the gate for Hokmah is perfectly symmetrical as well. And we're going to find that at the point of the gate of Bina, the code starts to transition. This is what's called the shattering of the vessels. Bina, another name for Bina, is called the womb. In a sense, you can say it is giving birth. Now, following every other Partsufim, this is Da'ath, it's broken 2 rungs. And then it's broken 3 rungs in the Partsuf of Hey. And then we get to the Partsuf of Vav, and it's broken 4. And then we get into the Partsuf of Zain, and it's broken 5. And it continues this process of what's called the shattering. The vessels represent the Sephiroth. And parts of these Sephiroth are not, you could say, enduring the light. They're breaking, as we see demonstrated. More broken into more broken. And this breaking of the vessels is going to continue until we get to Tav. When we get to Tav, we're going to see something very, very peculiar. So as we can see, almost the entire Partsuf is now broken. Everything is scrambled. The shattering continues, becomes more and more, until we get to the final Partsuf, which is Tav. When it gets to Tav, everything is solidified. and only one thin line stretches down. This is, in a way, you could view this as light becoming solidified. And you can also view this in the mystery of the Zohar revealing a line of one good measure descending. Now, the ancient sages stated that these gates were originally drawn in a circle. So, if we take the very first Partsuf, which is Aleph, as we see demonstrated here, and we were to place it in a circle, something very peculiar happens. So this is the Partsuf of Aleph, which is Aleph with them all of them with Aleph, and you can see as demonstrated here between the two colors, it is written in Amek Hamalek, he tied the beginnings with the end, that they be Ayin Sof. And so, we see that at the point of Tav, a beta sequence is being created, and it's marked out properly and accordingly, and everything is as it should be. And when we draw this in a circle, something very peculiar happens. When we draw this in a circle, we create a Fibonacci sequence. If you look at any galaxy in any universe, or the formation of any fruit or flower for that matter, or essentially anything in existence, our brain, a fetus, cellular development, they're all going to be created with this very same peculiar spiral pattern, which began at the highest rung. And this is all in the mystery of these Partsufim. We can take any Partsufim along this engraved serpent and analyze it. And what we're going to find, for example, in the letter Fe, we locate the Tav. And he tied the beginnings with the ends. And we're going to see that this entire section is breaking off. And it's going to continue with all of the letters in this fashion, with the top letter, of course, being established. So let us continue on and see what else we can discover about this. It says, you did break the heads of the serpent in the waters. Now, the Zohar reveals that the heads were particularly 7 heads. And what are the 7? They're the 7 Sephiroth that are underneath Bina. And as I demonstrated, the Kether and Hokmah and Bina Partsus, you could say, endured. As in, they don't have a broken sequence until the very end of Bina. After this, everything begins to crumble and break down. These are the heads that broke, the 7 heads, mainly the lower Sephiroth. Moreover, we find that they were broken in the sea. The sea is a code word for Hokmah, and we can see this sea again as delineated when the 231 gates are drawn in a circle, mainly Aleph with them all of them with Aleph, Beit with them all of them with Beit. We have a representation of the breaking. Now it goes on to say, there were 2 but 1 returned. Now, what's important to understand with there were 2 and 1 returned is that the entire 231 gates is split in 2-letter combinations, mainly meaning that every 2-letter combination for every letter is accounted for, all the way until the end, all the way until Tav. And so, they descended together. Why did they descend together? Because there were 2 sequences. And when they get to the very end, where everything becomes solidified, something amazing happens. One of them returned. What is this returning? This returning is the shifting in the sequence. So instead of Resh Kaf, it would transition over. And instead of Fe Sadi, it transitioned to Sadi Fe. And instead of Samek Ayin, it was Ayin Samek. And instead of Mem Nun, it was Nun Mem. And because there are only 2-letter combinations, it means that the rotation can only be 1 for all of them to transition. And this was called the returning. Now, what's important to understand is that the 231 gates descending created two worlds, as I've demonstrated. Aleph represents Kether, Beit is Hokmah, so on and so forth. This creates two worlds. However, when the rotation returned, when the rotation transitioned and the code went back up to ascertain the possibility of every possible two-letter combination in existence, what happened is that it created two more worlds. Two more worlds. And now we have four worlds. And these four worlds were Atziluth, Bariah, Yetzirah, and Asaya. And there was a hidden fifth world that was before all of this. But this is not the place to discuss that. So let us go back and read what it says. Even though it is spelled heads, which means plural, as we've just discovered, it is singular, as it is written, and over the heads, Rashi of the living creatures, was the likeness of a firmament. So, I will give one more demonstration regarding the nature of these gates. We're going to find in a special book called the Kabbalah of the Prophets, and it is called Sefer Aben HaShahem. Inside of this book, we're going to see the mystery of the return. We're going to go to the very end, and we find here the return. It is Aleph with every letter with Aleph, as I demonstrated, with the beta sequence being tagged on to the end, as it is written in Amek Hamalek. He tied the beginnings with the end, that they would be Ein Sof. In Ein Sof, the word has a gematria value of 207, and this is the value of Or. Now what we see here is that this is now reversed, Tav Aleph, showing that the return was the shifting of the gates, and this is Gate Aleph of the 231 gates. And what this tells us is that as two worlds were created, from the descending upon the returning, two more worlds were created for the four worlds that composite, again, Atziluth, Bariah, Yetzirah, and Asaya. And with this being said, we have now revealed the mystery of the Engraved Serpent. I hope all those who are seeking the mystery of the 231 gates carefully contemplate these mysteries, because they are of the highest order, and this has never been revealed. Shalom.